welcome.
To our pilot, Meet the Experts. And Tim's going to give a little background to our special guest, Ellen Amirkhan.
Thanks, Aaron. Well, Ellen Amirkhan, we're blessed to have you tonight. I'm looking at your bio, and it's we could probably spend 15 minutes going through it. But Ellen is a graduate of Texas Women's University. She has a Bachelor of Science degree from there, and in Southern Methodist University, she has a Master of Liberal Arts. She is the president of Oriental Rug Cleaning Company in Dallas, Texas, and that business was started by her grandfather in 1911, and they specialize in cleaning, repairing, appraising, and even selling Oriental rugs. She's a past president of ASCAR, or the Association of Specialists in Cleaning and Restoration, which is now called the Restoration Industry Association, or RIA. She develops and teaches Oriental rug schools for the International Society of Appraisers and other organizational groups across the United States and England. And she's also the co-developer of the Master Rug Cleaning Program. She holds many different designations. She's a certified appraiser of the Oriental Rug International Society of Appraisers. She's an award recipient of the RIA Dr. Stephen Spivak Award for outstanding contributions to the textile industry, as well as a CFI Carl Williams Award winner. So Ellen, we're pleased to have you, and I'm sure there's a lot of questions. If you'd like, just go into the chat. You can put your questions in. We have received some, and we've also, Aaron and I, have thought of some of the questions that we'd like to talk to Ellen about.
Yeah. You forgot the part about her running a mean 400 meters.
I tried to do it today, chasing a criminal, and it was a slow jog, and now my legs really hurt.
Got away,
didn't catch it either.
Well, we're going to stress it was your grandfather that started the business over 100 years ago. And how did he kind of get into the rug cleaning business? What brought him to Dallas?
Well, he came over from Armenia during because of the genocide, and he came to the United States. He was an orphan by 13. Both his parents were killed, and he went to an orphanage. And sometime between his 18 and 21, he left Far Eastern Turkey and made his way eventually to England, and somehow got a boat to Canada and made his way from Windsor, Canada, to Cincinnati, Ohio, where he had a relative in the rug cleaning business. It was called H.H. Amirkhan Rug Cleaning, and he worked for him and learned the business. And then he went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and worked for another Armenian, and then he went to New Orleans and worked for another Armenian. And by that time, he thought he could do it. So he came to Dallas because Dallas was big enough to support rug cleaning, but nobody had beat him to it.
There were no Kardashians in Dallas.
No, mercifully not.
Well, not too many businesses survive into the third generation. So what has been your key to success to be around for over 100 years?
Well, it's an interesting question, and it did cause me to ponder and think about it, because you don't think about it. You just go day to day, and the next thing you know, it's been over 100 years. So probably the first thing is you've got to turn out a really superior product at a very fair price. You need superior product knowledge, because that builds trust and sets you apart from the competition. But one thing with businesses that are old like ours, is you really got to be careful of is not becoming complacent and resting on your laurels, or as I say, riding the crest of the wave. You need to be on the lookout for ways to up your game, because there are always things you can do better, and you need to learn to change with the times and stay contemporary. You need to give efficient service. It needs to, when people deal with you, it needs to be really easy and perhaps even enjoyable. You need to have great attention to detail. One thing I learned playing sports was a lot of times you could beat people by just showing up every time. because so many people would have an excuse. Well, I don't feel good, or I don't like the coach, or it's too hot, or it's too cold, or I have a wart on my foot, et cetera, et cetera. And if you just show up every time, you'd be surprised how many people you can beat just by being there. Things that Armenians are really big on is being physically responsible, being responsible with your money, not to spend every dime you make, and have a 3 to 6 month rainy day fund. And boy, did that come in handy this year, you know. Because when the COVID hit, we were able to ride it out and keep everybody paid until the PPP loan came in. So, you know, money in one pocket and out the other pocket is not going to last very long. Now, one thing that's sort of overlooked, I think, is how do you treat your employees? It's overlooked. And are you arrogant and indifferent, or do you really try to connect and lead the team? And I think it's very important. You need to be fair and kind and compassionate, but that doesn't mean you can't be tough. I always tell my employees, don't ever mistake kindness for weakness, because it's a mistake with me. I'm big on continuing education for your employees to keep them engaged and feel like they're a part of the process. Great time off. I like to be off. I don't want to work 7 days a week. I don't want to work 6 days a week.
At all?
Yeah. I don't want to work at all. No, 5 is all I can do. People need time off. We work hard, then we play hard, then we come back and work hard. I just don't get off on Saturdays and Sundays and nights and all this stuff. We have great holidays. We have a month of paid holidays every year.
Do you have any openings?
We have an age limit, 70, where we cut it off.
Well, I'm assuming that in your rug cleaning side of things, it's like on location carpet cleaning, most of the customers are women. Do you feel having a woman-owned managed business is a plus?
Sure, it's a plus, because women are interested in cleaning. My father always said if it weren't for women, people's homes would be a disaster, you know, because men would have their man cave and that'd be it. It's women who keep the house going. And so we clearly connect. But I do want to say too, and this is going to be a news flash for many people, men like women. And so doing business with women, for the most part, men really do enjoy it. And so more than they probably do doing business with other men. And, you know, there's always a small minority that want to try to perhaps bully or intimidate you because you're a woman, but you let them know immediately that that won't fly on Ross Avenue. Yeah.
Don't want to be on the other side of that conversation.
No. You know, it's the same thing. You got to be kind, but then you got to show them you can toughen up when the time comes. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Okay.
Ellen, I don't know if you look at some of the, social media. There's a lot of information out there online about cleaning rugs. Some of it I see and I'm kind of appalled. Some of it's good information. But do you kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what people are doing out there on the internet, the advice they're giving?
Yeah, I call myself a Facebook voyeur, because I like to keep up with what the issues are. I like to see what people are having problems with. I like to read the advice, and you know, in some ways, it's a kind of entertaining. But the thing that sort of I get really annoyed at are people who ask questions and you've never heard of them before, ever. And the things they ask are so rudimentary. And then the advice they get, they'll get in a rayon rug and it's turned brown, or it has a red stain, or a multitude of things that you know they are not skilled enough to do. And they'll get 20 different pieces of advice with 20 different chemicals and all this stuff. And I thought if they did all this, they may blow the rug up. I just can't believe it when I read this. I've just become really appalled. And it's not useful. They don't find out what equipment they have. They don't find out how much education they have. They have no idea how much finesse they have. And so I think it gets dicey. I know one time, is Alex Flores on this little deal here? Maybe not. Anyway, the guy asked about cleaning a synthetic rug, and the label on the back said it should be professionally cleaned. So the guy asked how to clean it. I guess he was going to clean it. And Alex said, read the label. It says, take it to a professional. You know, if you have to ask, you probably aren't the professional. The other thing that they do is they ask about rug ID, and it'll be something you should learn the first year or two that you're in the cleaning business. And I just want to say, take a class. I don't care what class it is, take a class and stop trying to cheap out on Facebook. That's my rant.
Yeah, Ellen, Ben Camacho, one of the questions he put in was, you know, what is the recommended process to ID or, you know, a rug, or how do you value a rug? And I know it comes down to education, but.
Yeah, it does. Now, and they're kind of two separate issues, but in a lot of ways they are related. Rug ID, you know, most of us learned from our predecessors, our fathers or grandfathers, and then we built upon that. People now are way more knowledgeable than they are, and that's a good thing. But you've got to go to rug ID classes. Again, go to classes, reading books. You know, we have a DVD and a book. There's 1,000 things you need to do. It is not easy to do, but it's really essential. So that leads into, how do you value them? Well, if you can't identify them, you can forget valuing them. And becoming an appraiser of Oriental rugs, you have to have really superior rug ID skills, and you have to take what we call the core courses. It's appraisals, principles and procedures of appraising that are applicable to whether you're doing jewelry or furniture or anything else. The principles and procedures are all the same. You just apply it to rugs. So you have to take that education and then combine the two, and you've got to be able to print some really nice reports. It's not those little reports that have a little picture of a mosque on top or a flying carpet going across the top with a name and a size and a signature and a value. That's not an appraisal. That's just nonsense.
Is there a network of appraisers out there that if someone gets into trouble, they could take a rug to get a fair value?
Sure. The society I belong to is the International Society of Appraisers, ISA, and I joined 30 years ago, and I chose them because some of my mentors belonged, and because they specialized in personal property appraisal only. Some of the other societies do real estate, and so I wanted a place that's all they did, and I think it was a really good choice. Yes, you can go on their website and find out who does rugs and stuff.
Well, one of the so cleaning rugs on location is a hot topic often in seminars and on the internet. And the IICRC has a standard which includes not only wall-to-wall carpet, but rugs. And their recommendation is to have the rugs taken from the home or business and cleaned in some type of facility. But not everyone has a facility, and people are tempted to go ahead and clean them on location. And I think you've got some photographs of what can go wrong when that happens.
Sure. Yeah. And also ARTS, the Association of Rug Care Specialists, has a standard too. And I'm sure it's very similar to IICRC. And ours states that rugs should never be cleaned on location unless there is an extenuating circumstance, a granite table that's too heavy, or, you know, whatever that is. It's not just the customer doesn't want you to. That doesn't cut it. Anyway, and so the reason is, when you do stuff like that, the less you know, the more problems you're going to have, and it doesn't do a very good job anyway. And if you don't have a facility to take it into, find somebody in your area that does have a facility that does good work, and see if you can do some wholesale with them. We do a ton of wholesale work. We have a ton of accounts, and it's just so easy. It's easy for us. It's easy for them. So that's one solution if you don't have any place to take it. But you did want to throw those pictures up?
Yeah, let's take a look at a couple of things that have gone wrong. And this is a sisal rug, and you can see it's sitting in somebody's home. Was this brought to you for correction, or just someone just sent you a picture and said help?
I think somebody sent a picture and said help. And what the issue is on these, there's two things as I look at this. Number one, most of the time when people clean on location, they clean with heat, and that's bad news. Number two, the cotton binding, you want to put your little arrow on it. Hey, there you go. The cotton binding that goes around the four sides shrinks, the rug doesn't, and it causes the rug to ripple.
Now, when we take our IICRC classes, we're always told that heat speeds up the process. So why is it bad for rugs?
Well, it does speed up the process, but you know, we all remember our little cleaning pie. Then if you turn down the heat, lower the heat, then you've got to up the chemical or the agitation or the dwell time. You got to turn the heat down. Now, what it does on particularly on this on location is heat swells fibers and makes them shrink. And while it cleans better, you can clean a rug in your plant. We've been cleaning rugs without hot water for 109 years, and we do a pretty good job. So you don't have to have hot water to clean rugs.
Here's another little gem, also cleaned on location.
And this rug is from Afghanistan. This is where Rug ID comes into rug cleaning, because we know that a large percentage, maybe 50%, of rugs made in Afghanistan post 1980, roughly, the foundation materials are not pre-shrunk, and you wash it, and they all draw up in the most bizarre ways, as you can see on this rug. And this is regardless of what anybody tells you about jack blocking and all this stuff. This is basically not fixable. Now, this came in. There was a cleaner in town. Now, they didn't necessarily clean it on location. They threw it into a wash tub, and they didn't know one rug from another, and they pitched it in, and that's how it came out. And the customer brought it to us to see if we could fix it. And we got it about 40 or 50% better, but that's about it.
And to do that, you need a tack out floor, right?
Sure, and some expertise.
And
yes.
Expertise.
Yeah.
And here,
go ahead.
What do we have here?
What we have here is a bordered Wilton. It's a machine-made rug. It's wool, and the blue and white stripe border that goes around, it shrinks when it gets wet and causes the interior to buckle. So this goes back to Rug ID, and this is not even Oriental rugs. This is machine-made rugs. This is a problem with construction. Now, you can block this out, but my question is, why should we do that if we know ahead of time it's going to do it? We're going to clean it with some other alternative method.
Are these expensive?
Yeah, very expensive. Mostly come through Stark. I don't know that they're selling much of this anymore, and that was a question, Aaron, you raised. You know, do you see it enough to even show it tonight? We just got one in. We just got one in last week, and so we still get them maybe a couple a month, and so I think it's worthy of discussion.
Okay. So here we see our friendly Armenian on the tack out floor trying to correct an out of shape needlepoint, it looks like. Tell us about what's happening here.
Well, this is a Chinese needlepoint, and the way they're made, I called it made on the bias. It doesn't matter about all that technical nonsense, but when they come off the loom or the frame, they're like a parallelogram, and they need to be squared up. So before they're sold, they're squared up, but then with time, humidity, and washing and getting wet again, they want to revert back to their original shape. So after we wash them, then we tack them, and of course we charge them extra to do that.
Okay. Well, one of the problem rugs that it seems everyone's running into are viscose rayon. And so viscose is just the European term for what we've known as rayon in this country for many years, mostly in furniture of some sort. And I believe, yes, we have a viscose rayon rug that, how was this cleaned?
It was cleaned on location.
On
Great
location.
job.
Got it clean.
By somebody who knows nothing. Clearly.
So this was probably done with a truck mount. Again, high heat, maybe
Sure.
high pH.
And high pH and
Yep.
slow drying. Yes.
And so it was brought to you for correction?
Yes.
So why is it such a problem with viscose rayon with browning?
The main problem, and Aaron, you and I have talked about this when we've done the Master Rug Cleaner program, is it's not any big secret detergent or anything like that. It's that the people who have the problems have extraction equipment that is inadequate for these rugs. And so what do I mean by inadequate? Or maybe I should, that they have a truck mount, they have a portable, they have a water claw, they have all this stuff. In order to get good, consistent results, you have to have a centrifuge. If you're gonna really wet wash them and really get them wet out, you got to have a centrifuge and/or a rinser wringer, so that you can get a large volume of water at it initially, and then you've got to have either sun or a dry room that's heated where they dry quickly. They dry too slow. There's too much water is left in them, too much high pH detergent. All these things contribute in greater and lesser degrees to this situation we see on the screen now, which is really bad.
So we have before and after. So you were able to clean it successfully or correct it.
We were. Yep. I think we washed it, we rinsed it good to get all that detergent out, sent it through the rinser wringer several times, and put it out in the sun, and then gave it a light overspray of 3% hydrogen peroxide.
So they can certainly come in dirty and abused like this one. And voila, before and after.
Right. On these rugs, you can use, there's something that Master Blend makes called Formula M, and Aaron can kind of give you the lowdown on that. I know there's other things out there. You can use more aggressive chemical on this. It's the rinsing that's important. And somebody sent a message in. What was the first person that asked a question? It was something about hydrogen peroxide.
They were asking what the strength was.
No, they asked if you could use UV light. We've only used UV light on pet stains. And frankly, we don't have to use much UV light because we've got Texas sun.
Well,
and I understand there was another comment down below about being rainy and this and that. And that comes down to you've got to have better extraction equipment than truck mounts and water claws and all this stuff. You got to clean the whole rug too. You can't spot these rugs. That's like a piece of upholstery. It's guaranteed to leave a water ring. And if you use a centrifuge, now we dry it upside down. If it's raining or it's wintertime, we'll take it into the dry room and turn it upside down. And dry it in the dry room flat, not hanging, but flat.
Ellen, Matt had a question. You said there's some that say cleaning on site makes sense if the price to clean is more than the cost of the rug. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think it's ever a good idea to clean a rug on location. I mean, I've always used the analogy, who wants to have heart surgery at home? Because it's more convenient, because it'll be cheaper. I don't understand that. I can't clean a rug to my satisfaction in somebody's home. I can't dust it. I can't work on it after it's dry. I can't get it very wet. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. So then the question is, if the value of the rug exceeds the cleaning, there's a large percentage of the rugs we clean that the value of the rug is less than the cost to clean. How many times do I have a customer turn me down and say they're not going to do it? 3-4% of the time, not enough to even worry about it. Let somebody else go clean it on location.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do another question. I know Charlene has Sequoia Cleaning. They do implant rug cleaning.
Sure.
I know Matt Cole, a couple of guys do implant. You yourself, you said maybe you'll have a wholesale price for cleaners. So if they're going to remove that rug from the facility, what kind of documentation should they be taking, since they are taking liability of that rug to take it to you? What should they be doing before removing it?
Well, they would need a Bailey policy. They'd need some insurance for transportation. And, you know, with all the wholesale people we have, I have to say, most of them rely on us. Some are better than others. None of them do pre-inspection much. They rely on us to do it. And if I were they, I wouldn't do it that way, but they all do. They roll them up, they bring them in, and they use our pre-inspection and transfer that to their documentation, and off they go. But they should be doing more themselves, in my opinion. But a lot of times, these places, these techs they send out, they don't know anything. They're basically just rolling rugs up and bringing them in. They're not trained like our guys are, you know, where they can answer questions and identify problems.
But they found you, so they could rely on you. And there are other rug plants in major towns where people can go in and talk to them.
Sure.
Next month, we're going to have Robert Mann of Denver. He would be a great resource if I lived in Denver and had a carpet cleaning business.
Yeah,
Portland and so forth. So there's a lot of them out there.
Yeah, if I were running a 1 or 2 man truck mount carpet cleaning business, I wouldn't get involved buying all this equipment and renting space and doing this and doing that. I'd find somebody, if I could, if I was in play, I would find somebody that I could wholesale to, because it's so easy for them. They're basically pickup and delivery people. We give them a really good deal. You got to give them a good deal. It can't be where you make all the money, you know, because then they won't do it. But we don't have to advertise. We don't have to talk to anybody. All we have to do is clean the rug, because that's what we're set up to do. And it's all COD, and we have a contract. We have them signed with all of our terms and conditions, and they double our invoice, so they make what we do, and everybody goes home happy.
Now, who would sell the additional services for the customer? Why don't you talk about what things you do besides cleaning?
Okay. Yeah, we sell additional services. There's various ways to do that. I prefer a soft sell. I'm not big on high pressure selling, because I don't like it myself and it turns me off. So I sell by coming in the back door instead of barging in the front door. And by coming in the back door, when a customer brings a rug into me and they say, how much is it going to be to clean it? I'll measure it, but I don't exactly give them their answer right off. If it's an older rug and it's an interesting rug, I'll say, oh, where did you get this? Does this come from your family? Yeah, it was my grandmother's, or it was my mother's and she passed away. And I always remember it and I like it and I want to get it cleaned and take it home. Great. Good. Let's take a look at it. Do you know what kind it is? And I go through what it is and how old it is and maybe point out something interesting. And then I'll say, here's what I would recommend and priority. I would clean it first. Secondly, I would put a pad under it to protect the rug and protect your floor. And thirdly, I would suggest rewrapping the sides, because it's down to the foundation, and I'll be pointing it to them. I said, let me tell you how much all this is. So I write it all down and I hand it to them, and you'll almost always sell it. Yeah, I don't believe in whiteboards with sales goals being hung in the back of the plant. You know, you got to sell this much fabric protector and you got to do this, because it makes people sell stuff people don't need. And that's not the business we're in. That's not our model. We give them what they want. We give them what they need. We don't give them anything else so we can make a sales goal. So that's how we sell, kind of in cash and carry. Now on the truck, we carry pad samples. And we don't carry 40 different kinds. There's too many choices. We offer 2. And we take them to them. And the men, if they roll the rug up and they see they need a pad, they offer them pad samples, and then they write it on their ticket. We price it. They don't price it. They don't do any pricing. And the other thing we do that's an add-on, it's sort of an add-on sale, that we started doing once all this gray felted pads started coming out. There's 1,000 Durahold and Rug Wizard and Echo this and whatever it all is. Anyway, on the phone, when people call in to have their rugs cleaned and we write down all the information, then we say, and this is how we phrase it, will you be sending your pads in too for cleaning? And usually you'll get a pause. Oh, you can clean the pads? Yes, ma'am, we can clean the pads. Well, how much is it? Well, we do it pretty cheap because it's pretty easy, pretty quick. And we bring them in. And so that's another way we sell pad cleaning. And then they say, well, I don't have a pad. Well, maybe you should consider buying one. So those are sort of some of the ways that we do a little add-on sales.
One of cleaners that I've worked with told me, I'm no longer in the rug cleaning business. I said, what are you doing? He said, I'm now in the pet waste removal business. And why don't you talk a little bit about those accidents that are on the rugs and how you can deal with it?
Basically, this goes back. I think we all started trying to do something in the mid-90s. We were spraying things on rugs and leaving it to dwell, and it didn't work, and you couldn't charge for it. And at some point, maybe around the year 2000-ish or so, we all started coming up with putting it in a pit of some sort to soak it out and using that linoleum roller. And so that's basically what we still do. We have 3 pits. We put the rugs in, we use our chemicals of choice. We leave them in there. We roll them with a linoleum roller to get it all squeezed out, and then they're pulled out onto the wash floor. Then a lady just asked me, said, we use glacial acetic acid and leave it in there for 3 hours. Is there a better chemical to use? Here's my thought on glacial acetic acid, and I'm not a chemical person at all. I think I made a D in chemistry, but glacial acetic acid, isn't that about 99%, Aaron?
And it also can be explosive.
It's explosive. And I got to tell you, I took a sniff of 56% acetic acid about 15, 20 years ago. It shut down my respiratory system. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't take any air in. And I started making my way to the front to call 911, caught my air, thought I had it, was over it. And the next breath of air, I couldn't breathe again. That was 56%. You were talking about 99. I wouldn't have any of this kind of stuff in my plant at all, ever.
Again.
So again, yeah, sure. And so from that point forward, because it's when I've been there 40 years, but as time went on, I started doing less and less in the plant. And if I'm dumb enough to do it, what do I think the employees are going to do? Same thing I do. Is this acetic acid? And you don't have a light and you smell it and you're like, oh, gee whiz. So what we use is Master Blend skunk odor, and we use, is it urine lock, Aaron?
You use that too occasionally.
Yeah, the urine lock is really good for, and I don't know if Matt Cole is on here, but urine lock I think is real good on that body odor. We find that to be far more difficult than the urine or the cat. The cat's number 2 and dog's number 3 in difficulty, but the worst is that body odor.
Yeah.
And urine lock.
Oil from the fur.
Oil from the fur, yeah. Smells like dirty socks or worse than that.
Those enzymes will break it down.
Yeah. And so that's what we do. Now I have put acetic acid in the pit, and I have put maybe 8% or 10%, something like that. I've done that occasionally, but it's the exception, not the rule.
Somebody also asked about moth retardants. Is that much of an add-on sale for you?
We do a little. I don't like to get too worked up over that sort of thing too. And we call it moth deterrent because it's not moth proofing, and I don't want any liability. Everything that's on our tickets say a deterrent. And as you know, it makes the wool not taste so tasty. And we get a ton of moth rugs in. I know y'all do too, and I have a theory on it. They come in with moths in them, that people don't have all these moths in their house. I talked to a gentleman that I know in North Carolina that is an importer of rugs from India. And I said, Doug, I think this stuff comes in these rugs. He said, oh, absolutely. You go to the warehouses, these rugs are stacked to the ceiling and the moths are flying everywhere. So that's why we have so many of them. And I guess that's good for us. But so, yeah, we do sell some moth deterrent.
And one person made the comment that they thought your hair looked nice.
This is my COVID-19 look.
Kind of like
Going back to
Tim with the beard, I guess. Yeah.
but my beard.
No, Tim.
Do I have a beard? Oh no.
Just a mustache, not a beard.
I got rid of that too.
What do you see coming in for cleaning these days? Have price points fallen? Cheaper?
I think yes. And again, I've been down there 40 years. And when you stop and think about what you saw in the 80s and what you're seeing now, there is definitely a transition. There are fewer of the old standbys. There are fewer Saruks and Paris and Kerman, all these traditional Oriental rugs. There are fewer and fewer of those old rugs coming in because now the stuff's getting up 100 years old. The stuff that was made 50 years old is grossly out of style. So you're seeing less and less of it. You're seeing more modern production from Tibet. I think India is the biggest importer. Tufted rugs, rayon rugs, poly shag rugs, every screaming weird thing you can possibly imagine. But you got to roll with it and look at it and say, can I clean this? And my answer is always yes. We can clean anything, and that's where an understanding construction comes in, because if you hadn't seen it before, you got to look at it and say, how is this put together? What could be some potential problems, and how are we going to clean it? And then once you do it, and the next 20 come in, it's fine. And we don't charge any less. We charge the same thing we charge on everything.
Well, somebody has asked about pricing. I knew it would finally come to this, and we're not advocating price fixing by any stretch of the imagination, but just as a range, as you traveled around the country, what do you see people charging for natural fiber rugs?
Okay, I just saw a question, so let me come back to you, Aaron, and because I can answer this pretty quick. And everybody's got a different opinion, and mine may be in the minority here. But about fabric protector, is it good? Does it serve a purpose? We hardly ever do it. You get 20 plants, and 10 are going to say, "Oh yeah, you got to do it. It's great," and 10 are going to say, "I don't see any benefit to it." I'm in the "I don't see any benefit to it" group. I really don't. The rugs are dirty when they come in. I don't. And two, when you sell it, you got to tell them this is not, if the dog urinates on it and you're out of town or you're out to dinner, it's going to be a stain when you get back. It only helps suspend it for a certain period of time for you to get it blotted up. So my personal opinion, and I'm not going to argue about it, we don't do much of it. And then you asked Aaron about pricing.
Well, there was a question from people.
Okay. Out in California, your cost of living is way higher than here in Texas. And that's so I know that you charge. Why
we're all moving to Texas.
There you go. The price per square foot here is much less than in California. It's going to be cheaper in Oklahoma and Louisiana and probably anywhere much in the South. I have never been. And if you have to charge more because you have more onerous regulations and stuff that cost money and minimum wages that are higher than the rest of the country, then you got to raise your prices to pay for it. And I get that. That's not a problem. My thing is whatever you charge, you better be doing a good job. Aaron and I've been teaching these classes 30 years, and we hear more stuff. And people love to tell you how much they charge, and we're getting $6 a foot, and you're getting a $2 a foot job. So if you're going to charge $6, you better give them $6. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah, someone's just saying they're in Marin County, one of the most expensive parts of California, and they're charging $5 and a buck more for urine. And
yeah, we do $1 for urine. We do $1 for any kind of topical treatment, moss, fabric protection. Is there anything else on a topical? We charge $1. We charge, like $3.50 standard. If it's over 200 square feet, we're going to charge $4.50. If it's really big or it's got a problem, we call it special pricing. I may charge them $6. I tell you one thing we've started doing, and this is interesting during this COVID thing, it gave us an opportunity to do some stuff. that I wanted to do, but I wasn't quite sure how to implement it without it creeping everybody out, is um, we kept our old pricing for rolled and ready or ready to roll with the idea we didn't want to be in your house too long, which was not my prime thing. My prime thing is all this furniture moving and all this labor is just gotten too much. And you can break things, your employees can get hurt. So we left our price what we were charging in January for any of this kept on. And then if it's not rolled and ready, then we went up. And so we're getting more. And I'm telling you now, 80% of the people have it rolled and ready. And boy, that makes it easy
Really?
for us. It makes the day go quick. We can put more stuff in. Yeah, it's really worked out nicely. And we started out doing porch and garage. So it really segued great when we kind of started going back in the house again to kind of keep some of those little deals and going. Yeah, it's been really good for us.
Ellen, are there any rugs that you don't wet clean, that you end cap with a medium or?
Yeah, some of those rugs from Afghanistan, you'll remember the picture we saw earlier of that red rug with those horrible ripples. Those rugs, if they don't have urine in them, and most of the time they don't seem to be stained up, we have compressed air dusting, and so we dust them with compressed air. Then I'm gonna use dry absorbent compound. We're gonna with the hose system. We're going to use the hose system. If there's a spot on it, we'll get our little hand spotter out and do that. And so that's what we do on those. The Aaron, the bordered rug, the blue one, the Wilton. Yeah. If this rug is not really dirty, we're going to host clean that, dry absorbent power. I missed that little question down there that just came up. He was thinking about charging $5 for something. So that's when we do that. Sometimes we get in these rugs still, and this is old product, but rugs that have been made out of wall-to-wall broadloom carpet and been all glued up and heat seamed together and monk's cloth on the back and yada yada. And if they're not too dirty, we'll host clean those too. And they turn out beautifully.
Do you ever use just a low moisture end cap?
No, we never have done that. We've been doing hosts since 1959, so we're kind of wrapped up in that. But I mean, whatever works and doesn't mess the rug up and gives you a good appearance, where you can, yeah. Go ahead. We wash 98% of everything. We power wash 98% of everything.
Okay. Kind of looking in your crystal ball, where do you see the rug cleaning industry going in the next 10 years, maybe even a little bit longer?
Yeah, I think we'll probably see fewer rugs from, Iran. The stuff we see now is all cheap and it all looks the same. It's one after the other. I think where that stuff is, it's not, we clean a lot of it, but decoratively it's not wanted. I mean, and they got to change the design aesthetics every 10 years so they can keep selling rugs. I think things are getting cheaper and cheaper. I mean, in the old days, and I'm talking the old days, I'm talking 50, 60, 80 years ago, everything was made so well. When you talked about having the skill to clean rugs, all you did was wash them and hang them and dry them. That was the Armenian secret, is that there wasn't a secret. But now there's lots of secrets and lots of things that can really go wrong. So I think it's going to be cheaper. And I don't know if this next generation, they're coming in with shags and stuff and disposable. I don't know if they get older, if their taste will grow with them, or if they're going to be, I really don't know, but I think we're going to have plenty of rug cleaning, plenty of hard surface cleaning. Carpet cleaning, boy, I'd hate to hang my hat on that for the next 20 years.
Maybe the pendulum will swing and
people
will do what my parents did and put wall-to-wall carpet over their wood floors.
Well, that's what my mother did, I'm embarrassed to say. But sure. And I tell you, how are we on time? I was going to say, Aaron, you and I and Tim were talking the other day. is something that we've just instituted in the last 2 or 3 weeks, is something called Company Cam, and it's a way to take photographs of rugs. And I have always wanted to do it, but again, everything was just too difficult, too convoluted, too much time, and you didn't need it very often. If you needed it every week, maybe you'd spend that time doing it, but you didn't need it but 3 or 4 times a year when you had a little bit of a problem or a dispute. And so I never wanted to do it. But anyway, Company Cam is an app. You download it, and if you only have one user, which that's all we picked was one user, I think it's $22 a month. And you open up the app on your phone or your iPad, and you create a project. We do ours by date. We just made, today was 11/18/2020. And every rug that comes in, we take photographs of the rug and the tag and the issues, and it goes right up to the cloud, and you're done. Not on your phone or anything.
Are you doing that on every rug now, or just problems? Or
no, we're doing it on every rug, unless it's some customer we've had and they're okay. But for the most part, we're doing every rug.
And the name of the app is
Company Cam, Company CAM, Company Cam.
okay.
Boy, we had an issue a couple of weeks ago, and boy, it it saved us. Otherwise, it turns into it said it's Company Cam cheaper than video. I don't know what kind of video they're talking about. Now, if you have video in your plant for security, it's no good. It's not, the resolution's not good enough. You can't. Now, this Company Cam, you can video with it too. That's a choice. You can video with it.
But you don't store it. It goes onto their
It goes up. That's right.
Okay.
For rugs that are in high use areas, should wool rugs be cleaned at least every year, 2 years? Okay. People ask me that, and I always say, well, it depends on where it's used. You know, if it's an entry hall and that's your main ingress and egress to the house, then I think every 6 months to a year. If it's a living room, you need to do it every 2 to 4. People tend to wait too long because they don't use it, and then they move the rug, and what do they find? They find moths, or they wait 20 years. Yeah. So if it's in a high traffic area, I think it needs to be cleaned every couple of years.
Okay. And someone asked, with this Company Cam, is it easy to access the photos?
Oh, yeah. I click on the app on my phone. It all comes up, and I look and I say, I need to look at the rugs that came in on October 31st. I scroll down to October 31st. I click it. Boom. There they all are.
How long are they saved for?
That's an interesting question. They're saved for a long time. I would have to ask Armin. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know. You know, they can't just save it indefinitely.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly a year. Anonymous attendee. How about tufted rugs, old carpets, latex falling apart, and then especially something.
Yeah, like hand tufted rugs. You know, the animal pees on it, and the latex shot.
Yeah. Well, again, we pre-qualify with the customer that the latex is powdering, that the back is delaminated. This is all put on our invoice, and we can tell them if we clean it, it may get worse, or it may be so bad that cleaning won't make it any worse. But the rug is sort of at the end of its life, and if you want us to clean it, we will, but I want you to understand it's either going to get worse or it's not going to get better. And the powdering will continue because there's no way to get all that out unless you disassemble the rug and reback it. And, you know, while we all have done that, because again, on Facebook, I hear people asking about where to buy canvas and what kind of glue and this, that, and the other. We've all done it. We just don't do it very often because it's not cost effective. They can go buy a new one.
Someone was asking, is there an affordable way to do that? And with the cost of latex, I would think affordable is not going to be.
Okay, remind me which rugs I'll walk away from. on the glue and the labor and the time, the glue is expensive. I think it's, a gallon is, I don't know, is it $35 a gallon, and it takes a couple of gallons and this and that. When we do a 9x12, we probably charge $400, 8x10, maybe 300.
Okay.
And we use the back that's already on there. I try to do that because you can't find anything that comes in 8-foot wide or 12-foot wide pieces. In this country, it's all 4 feet. If you got lucky, you might find 6. So then you have to piece it all together, and I'm not interested in that. Okay. So we just reuse what's there.
So what rugs do you walk away from?
People whose check won't clear. We walk away from those. Yeah.
That's a good rule.
We don't walk away from much of anything. I remember my mother one time came back with a rug, and my dad and I were back there. We were doing something, and she said, "This lady," and we looked at it, and I said, "I'm not interested in that." So she goes back up. She said, "They won't clean it." And she said, "They never say that." So I just don't walk away from much. I mean, part of the reason people come to us is because we can figure out just about anything and qualify it. So there's not anything I walk away from, I basically tell you. We have experience with horsehair rugs. Now, I'm familiar with riding blankets from the late 19th century were made out of horsehair. I don't know. I can't think of any rugs that are made out of horsehair. Are you talking about cowhides? Not sure what a horsehair rug is.
Okay, maybe they'll ask again.
Okay, but we wash them. I mean, now, I will say, because this is a good question, these rugs that are made from pieces of cowhide, little patches, kind of like a quilt, and they're all sewn together, and then they put something on the back. They all make them different. None of them, no two are alike. If you wet clean those, the backing will pucker badly. And the way it's put on, you can't really disassemble and reassemble. And so we will air dust and probably dry absorbent powder clean. We also had, it was just jute and horsehair interwoven. I'd probably wash it. I mean, some people worry about browning. I don't worry about browning because I'm getting it rinsed. I'm not using high pH. I've got a dry room. I've got the sun. I'm going to power wash it and take it outside. Yeah.
Sounds pretty easy.
It's not an issue, huh?
Sounds pretty easy.
Well, yeah.
You run dehumidifiers in your dry room?
That's an interesting, we were talking about this. Again, I'm not the dry room queen. However, through the years, I've had people tell me that I could get my rugs dry in my dry room with these really, modern dehumidifiers. And so we put a couple in. I'm telling you, it was a Band-Aid on cancer. We didn't run the heat. We put those things in. The next day, they were as wet as they were when we put them in there. It's worthless if you have any kind of a volume at all. You've got to have, somebody asked about drying in high humidity. Our humidity is kind of in the middle. It's not high and it's certainly not low like out in the desert. The best way to work with high humidity is to get more heat. And air movement and exhaust. There's some fancy systems out there that when the air gets filled with humidity or water or whatever, the exhaust fan kicks on automatically and sucks it out and kind of recirculates and puts new air in, dry air. And we don't need that, so we don't have any of that.
Robert Pettyjohn in North Carolina tried dehues and did quite a lot of experimenting with it. And at the end of the day, his conclusion was the same as yours. Air movement and heat, getting the humidity out through an exhaust fan seemed to be the optimum.
Yeah, and of course, again, we go back to proper extraction equipment when everybody's getting stuff so wet, because the wetter you get it, the cleaner you get it. But that means you got to get the water out more than a truck mount or a water claw or any of these things. So the more water you can get out with equipment, then the less you have to worry about the drying issue. And then somebody asked something.
What temperature are you keeping your dry room at?
Ours isn't very hot. Ours is probably in the summertime when it's hot outside, it's probably 115. And in the wintertime, it might be 90 or 100.
Someone is asking about for techniques using the pressure washer.
Yes, that was it, doing it vertically. And I'm sort of assuming that they mean that if you hung a rug on a pole, sure, because when we put our rug up into the Moore machine, there's part of it that's lying flat on the bed, and then there's a part hanging over the edge that hangs over to the wash floor, and it's vertical. And I love power washing when it's like that because it runs out really nicely. Now we do it in the direction of the pile, clearly. Yeah, but no, I love power washing vertically. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're kind of coming up a little bit to the end of our time. If there's another question or two, we could answer those. If somebody has something they would like to ask Ellen. With all of the virus and everything that goes on, are you still planning to do in-person training?
Yes, you and I've kind of kicked this around. We're sort of, trying to figure it out with smaller classes and so forth and so on. But yeah, we're sort of looking to do a master rug cleaner that first week in March, unless there's a compelling reason not to. Yeah, but small class.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking for a repair class in June. Hopefully by then, maybe we'll have a vaccine and maybe we'll have this somewhat behind us.
Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No large gatherings, no 20, 30, 40 people.
Well, if we get this behind us, Tim will have to shave his beard if he's got to go back.
I will, I'm ready.
I think it looks good.
Looks distinguished, I think.
It does.
Anyway, I think that's it. Thanks for all your questions. Appreciate all your time. Again, join us next month. And CFI, again, they've got this introductory special. If you go to cficonnects.org, connects, CONNECTS.org, you can get the information. You can sign up for the introductory offer. You can see all that's being offered for your membership.
Okay.
The Scotch guards stay on wool for long. I don't know too much about all that. I would sort of think it washes off, or does it walk off, Aaron?
It'll wear off pretty much by the time the rug gets washed.
Yeah.
It's been on there for a couple of years. I'm sure the traffic lanes will need to be touched up again.
Let me give a shout out too to my buddy Roby.
You can watch them the second Wednesday of the month.
All right. Well, I'll count on you to keep me informed.
Well, next time, third Wednesday of December, we will have Robert Mann of Robert Mann Oriental Rugs. Quite an interesting gentleman. It would be interesting just to listen to his war stories for an hour, but we'll do more than that. But
yeah, he's very entertaining.
Yeah, he's led a very interesting life. Let's put it that way. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Ellen, for your time.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
You're past your bedtime, so we'll let you go.
I got to get milk and cookies.
Yeah. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.